When I was 16, one of my biggest dreams was to move from my city. When my mother asked me why, I told her our city is so provincial. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go. I simply don't see myself here. But sometime later, I found out that a lot of brilliant, talented people came back to my hometown after successfully living abroad. And some magic has happened. Suddenly, new interesting places and events appeared. New musical and cultural scenes were shaped. Literally, in 1 year, I couldn't recognize my city. It got new energy, new spirit. And that's changed my attitude. I also found out that we have this power to change the city. At that moment, I was 24-year-old graduate. But within 3 years, I got opportunity to lead the projects for the city development strategy, establish the third major urban planning forum in Russia, and give my first talk on the panel together with the city mayor and UN habitat expert. It became possible because I was empowered by other people with knowledge, energy, resources, and an incredible amount of trust. As a team, we also got support from the international expert community and the full credit from the side of the city mayor to develop a new vision for our city. We had all resources to make a breakthrough. And yet, after 3 years of work, almost nothing has happened. Because I found out that outside my team, there were a lot of individuals and organizations with the opposite attitude to the change we were going to create. This picture illustrates what has happened. Competition between different parties for their own interests. Municipality, private developers, and of course citizens. I took a step back to understand what was missing in the first place. Why did that happen? And I think the missing part was the vision of common value. As an urban planner, I was project manager for municipality, private consulting development company, and I also founded my own non-commercial organization, which now develops local public spaces. In all these spheres, I experienced similar issues and challenges. This donkey pulling has happened too often. As a result, projects have stuck or they changed dramatically, losing their quality. But what if, instead of competing with each other, we join our efforts? Municipality could get not only claims, but also solutions from the citizens. Developers could get more targeted concepts that will highlight them among other competitors and gain clients' loyalty. I know this from real examples now. And I want to tell you how exactly the city gains profit from the cooperation of private and public sectors with civil initiatives. There is a strong demand today from the side of the citizens to be included in the decision-making process. Participation becomes one of the basic democratic rights. We all want to have a voice in our city, right? It's a challenge, but also an opportunity for urban development. And I believe we have to work together. I call my talk holding a stake because in urban planning, the stake means some value. And we all are stakeholders in the city. Every individual, organization, family, community has particular needs and interests. And since we live together, we have to understand how to combine these needs for common good. Modern challenges that our cities are facing today are too big and too complex to be solved by one actor or even within one sector. And situations also changing every day. We have to adapt to economical, social, climate change, migration, different lifestyles, and so on. We also need to manage different expectations and opinions, because otherwise, not in my backyard attitude appears. In other words, people could block any projects no matter its importance when they are excluded from decision-making. Mediaspree in Berlin, Tempelhofer Feld, worldwide known protest against construction of the temple in the square in Yekaterinburg. A recent conflict around new embankment in Vologda. These are several examples, to name a few, where projects were banned. Also today, such initiatives as Stadt von Unten or housing cooperatives in Berlin are challenging capital-driven developers. They compete for the plots, develop modern architecture, and tend to keep rent prices from the market speculation. Slowly, they are changing rules of the game. If we ignore these trends, we could observe escalation more and more urban conflicts. When we're stuck in conflict, the city does not develop. Municipalities lose opportunity to attract funding. Private investors lose money, time, clients' loyalty, civil initiatives got suppressed. But the good news is, we could definitely manage these conflicts if we simply make cooperation our new normality. To be successful, any project or program needs to understand clearly whom it will be cooperating with and how. Because cooperation expands our opportunities. 15 years ago, a tenants association in the district of Wedding in Berlin decided to preserve historical monument, former factory Rotoprint, and also to safeguard low rents for themselves. At that moment, Berlin authorities were going to sell the site to a commercial private investor. But for the tenants, that meant future rent increase and probably pulling out. So they decided to buy this ground themselves and to develop it in a non-commercial manner. Berlin officials would hardly imagine that tenants could manage development project. And yet those people with full responsibility for financial model, hiring architects, negotiating the price, and finally finding money to buy the ground. They signed an agreement with two non-commercial foundations which jointly bought the land instead of commercial investor. The foundations that now own the land safeguard it from market speculation. And tenants own the buildings, so they keep the rents low. All the profit they got, they used for non-commercial goals, supporting art, culture, and preserving historical monument. I think we, architects and planners, could learn from this experience. It was a long term when the architect was a servant for the developer, limited with developer's will. But what if we take the lead ourselves? In the residential complex Fritz 23 in Berlin, architects are developers. They used crowdfunding financial models to spread out the cost among different people who became members of cooperative. That made project possible without one big major investor. By 2013, 190,000 cooperative apartments existed in Berlin, or approximately 10% of the overall number of flats. 10% of the flats built by the citizens. And those projects not only safeguard low rents, they also create innovative architecture. I believe this practice should spread, because it creates common value. Both municipality and citizens profit from the growing amount of quality and affordable housing. And talking about common value, let me share another story. 4 years ago, a private developer in Ijevsk, Russia, won a tender for a site with a condition to create a public space. There were 3 options. To make minimal standard beautification, to invest into full construction of high-cost individual project, or ask people what they want. And developer has chosen the 3rd option. This place looked like this. And today, it's not Berlin, it's still Ijevsk. And due to cooperation with the civil initiative, developer has financed 60% of realization. The rest, 40%, were financed through the open crowdfunding public campaign. Developer not only acquired a good reputation, but also attracted additional resources. And people got a new public space that they like and care about. So you see, cooperation helps to create solutions that benefit everyone. There is a known Russian saying, "Одна голова хорошо, а две лучше," which means it's better to think together. And when we talk about the city, it's relevant. The more people could make an input, the more solutions will appear. And also, when citizens and private organizations are involved in decision-making process, it creates feeling of responsibility and ownership. From consumers, citizens become co-creators of the city. Also, when we cooperate, we expand our access to resources and knowledge. Private companies gain loyalty from the citizens and profits from the city. Public authorities face less urban conflicts, and citizens get better quality of life and more opportunities for realization. We all share living spaces, air, water, ground, and we all want to have better living conditions, right? Isn't it a good reason to work together? To encourage this process, I started to work on a platform aimed to bridge actors from different spheres for joint projects and experience exchange. And I invite you to join me in this initiative. Let's create more successful stories. Share your tools, bring your cases, or simply join the projects to become a member of community. Let's make cooperation new normality. It might be challenging, but I believe it's worth it. And let's show that we really have this power to change our cities.